The fifth and the final test match of the Ashes of what's been a very tough tour for England. Let's talk all about that pink ball test match here at Timeout with SportsAdda. Surprisingly, a second pink ball test match in a test series. A very rare occurrence, Arun. Uh, but welcome one. I mean, we are always wanting to see day night cricket. Uh, Hobart then. Hobart is a venue for the fifth test match. First thoughts.
Beautiful city, Akhil. It's a beautiful place to be in, and just the ground, the city, the vibes of the city. You've got to be there to experience it. Now, just
Hmm.
outside, the Bellerive Oval, there's obviously, you've got to. It's astonishing. It's beautiful.
Okay. What's before we go and talk about the fifth test match, Arun? As is our tradition here at Timeout with Sports Adda, we have another contest. We've been giving out Brightly signed merchandise for our prize winners who've been answering questions correctly. And like usually we do, our question is also about the test venue where this fifth test match is going to happen. So I'm going to be giving the question now. You're going to be giving the hint only and not the correct answer. Again, all viewers have to do is go onto our YouTube channel, give the correct answer, like this video, and hopefully you will win some Redley signed merchandise. And it's a very simple question, Arun, today that we have. There is an Australian cricketer who's bagged the only pair that has happened at the Hobart ground in Test match cricket. So we want to know which is that Australian cricketer. Simple enough question. He's the only cricketer to have bagged a pair at the Hobart cricket ground in a test match. So we want to know who is that cricketer.
I'll,
So
I'll
given your
rephrase
answer,
that slightly, Akhil. Who is the only Australian cricketer to bag a pair at the Bellerive Oval? There have been four other visiting batsmen, but only Australian batsmen.
okay, that's a very nice hint, Arun. Great. So lots of things have happened between the fourth and the final test match now coming up. There have been a lot of injuries in the England camp. Australia have had their good set of problems. So we'll start with Australia, Arun. Uh, just been reading the news coverage that Khwaja is going to continue being in the team. He's going to open now in place of Harris. You said you don't like really like that change. Why is that so?
I don't approve of this selection. I don't approve of this decision. I've read people on social media, I've read former cricketers, I've read commentators, I've read media personalities say they agree with this decision and this is a common sense decision. This is not a common sense decision at all. I don't agree with it because Khwaja got his runs batting in the middle order, right? Let me get some numbers out here. Khwaja averages about 99 or 98 as test match opener, but that's all way in the past, right? If you're selecting him now for the next test match on the basis of what he's done recently, which is the
Hmm.
twin hundreds in Sydney, it's got to
Hmm.
be for a middle order role. It cannot be for an opener. Look, the, this is the mistake that selectors have tended to commit year after year. Going back in time, you don't select a player on the basis of his middle order performance and ask him to open the innings. If that's the case, Sachin Tendulkar should have opened. Sachin Tendulkar should have opened. Talk about Ricky Ponting should have opened. Brian Lara should have opened. If opening the innings was so easy, right? All these legends should have just opened the innings. They would have had more opportunities to play. Ball is hard, new whatever nonsense, but just unacceptable for me. I mean, I love
Hmm.
Khwaja as a player. I think he's talented. He's class, but I think the wrong decision to throw him at the top against a new ball, pink ball challenge as well. I don't like it.
Maybe Justin Langer is taking in something from his own experience where he was not getting a spot in the middle order. Michael Slater suffered a dip in form. Justin Langer went on to open and was very successful. So maybe that is something that he's going back on and he wants to give Khwaja that chance because he's had many chances but not really a long run. So maybe they don't want to waste form and giving him that opportunity. And I think he's good enough to open. So maybe that's the risk that they want to take.
He is good enough. Okay, like I mentioned, he averages about 98 or 98 or 99 as test match opener. But let me read out his recent first class cricket form, Akhil. I go back to 10th of October 2020, right? Since then, all the innings that he's batted in first class cricket have been at 4 or 5.
Hmm.
He hasn't opened since then. In the two innings before that in which he opened, he got scores of 4 and 2. So opening takes a bit of an adjustment. There's a bit of technique adjustment. There's a bit of temperament adjustment. You just can't. Why don't we get Rishabh Pant to open, right? No, not everybody can be a Rohit Sharma. I, I just don't like it. I
Hmm.
mean,
Okay.
this could again. I mean, he's riding a high now after two outstanding innings. This could just come down crashing. I
It's
mean, Harris has
interesting
done a
because
job, maybe not to the liking of a lot of people outside the team, but Harris has done his job. I read a few of the players saying the 70 he scored at Melbourne was among the toughest conditions. And
yeah.
it's not just about runs, it's about the time he occupied the crease first. So, yeah, Harris unfortunate, but yeah, don't like this.
Interesting observation there. Uh, Going to be interesting also to see how the key batters score, isn't it? David Warner started off very well in the first two test matches, got those two 90s, but after that he's not gone on to score the big hundreds that he usually does. Similar with Steve Smith, he started off with a good score I think in the first test match, but after that he's not really gone on to he scored that 100s, even 200s that we are routinely being used to seeing Steve Smith score. So it's not been such easy batting conditions, obviously, but you expect a Steve Smith to get over that and score runs, especially at home, right?
I mean, both of us called Steve Smith to be the highest run getter of the series, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That hasn't
it is.
happened. But
He's still
I'm
capable
just
of
looking
getting a
at
double
some
hundred.
numbers, Akhil. In terms of the series, we've had four test matches already. So players have batted 7 innings, 8 innings, 6 innings, and look at the it's Manas Labuskagne at 286 who's the top run getter, and they're not nobody's run away, or nobody's kind of disappointing except the English batting lineup. If we want to talk about that, but Warner's
Yeah.
273 runs. Travis Head's 248 runs. Usman Khawaja 2 innings. Got the 200s. Steve Smith is 217. So it's not like they've struggled for form. It's just that the big hundreds haven't come. Now the 300s that have come from Australia in the series, two from Khawaja obviously in the previous turn, and one from Manas. So the hundreds are what is lacking, and uh,
Travis had got one.
Travis said at the start, correct? Yeah, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Travis said at the start. Yeah.
It's a similar story to the Indian batting lineup, isn't it? In bowler friendly conditions, the lineups have not been able to go on and get those hundreds that we have been expecting, or everybody's been expecting, saying that middle order batters have to go and get those big hundreds. In bowling friendly conditions, I think only Joe Root has managed to do that consistently, Arun. Except without him, everybody else in world cricket seems to be struggling to go on and get those hundreds. It's just that the media scrutiny for the Indian batters is, as expected, going to be much higher. But if you look at it, the middle order batting across the globe, across the world in Test cricket is in difficult situation.
And I like it this way. I honestly like it this way. Hundreds should be earned. When you score hundreds, like we spoke during the India South Africa Test match, Akhil, hundreds should be remembered. It's not like you play a Test match and three batsmen end up scoring hundreds. You want even if that one player scores 100, you want to remember. Like you mentioned, the Travis had 100, you remember, right? Khwaja
Correct.
100, you remember. 200s in the knock. Manas 100, you remember. You don't want, I still remember Joe Root's 100 in Sri Lanka last year. I still remember his hundreds against India
In
in India.
India, yeah.
In India. So I remember those. I remember Dimut Karunaratne's 100 in Sri Lanka recently against West Indies. So you want to remember 100. You don't want batsmen just walking in there and, you know, scoring 100, just adding, like certain individuals is stat padding their careers. Hundreds need to be remembered, and I like it this way. Also means test matches will be more interesting. You value
Test
Virat
matches are
Kohli's
definitely
79 that he
interesting.
made in this test match, the first test of the Cape Town test. So yeah, that's the kind of test matches we really want.
Okay. Uh, Finale
One
finally
other
for
change, Akhil. Australia have one other change to make. That's why they've not announced the 11 yet. There are question marks over Scott Boland's fitness. Uh,
fitness.
they want to leave it to the last minute before they take a call. but Australia will not miss Scott Boland even if he's not available. Pink wall, the condition that Hobart is such that you will get swing. So if for some reason Boland's not available, Jai Richardson comes in, and don't forget there's that magician with the pink wall, Mitchell Stark.
Mitchell Stark, he's going to be looking forward to this. And Jai Richardson himself is not such a bad bowler. He's got a fifer in the last Test match that he's played. So good break he's had in between. So it might be just a good idea to get him back and get his also confidence going. Uh, Okay, so much for Australia. Lesser problems that they've had. The only problem they would have been having is not being going up 4-0 in the series. They would have wanted to make it 5-0. So 3-0 it is. But again,
So we
England had
called
their
it, but we called
we
it.
called it. We've called it correctly so far. But difficult situation for England, Arun. Uh, they finally seem to have got something going in their bowling attack by getting Stuart Broad in last time. But still no respite. Nobody's been able to really buckle down. Johnny Bairstow was such a nice surprise that he got that 100 important 100 for him in his career also. So just a little respite for them from Bairstow, but nobody else stepped up.
Yeah, and that tells you. I mean, while we expected England to fight, and they did put up a bit of a resistance. I don't think this Test match is going to be easy for them. From what I'm reading, Akhil, from the English journalists in Australia, they're contemplating as many as 5 changes. Heading into this fifth Test match, 5, Akhil, and one of
Wow.
those changes, or two of those changes, I should say, are shocking. If it happens, and we'll know it shortly, they want to rest Jimmy Anderson. If you go back in time, if you rewind to about 3 weeks ago, they said we're preserving Jimmy Anderson for the pink ball test
Pink
match, which
ball
was, which
test
was the
match.
second
Yeah.
test, right? And now come another pink ball day and night test. They want to rest Jimmy Anderson. Like, do people even have that memory of, or do they even know what they're doing? So that's a shocker for me. And they're looking at bringing Rory Burns back in place of Hamid. I know Hamid's not done anything of note. He's kind of looked all at sea. But
Yeah.
to bring in somebody who's not had any match practice, a player was dropped, to bring him back without having seen if he's done anything different, any improvement in his game, just doesn't make sense to me.
Interesting. It seems ages ago, Arun, that some of the England batsmen used to come and enjoy batting in Australia. Uh, Again, everybody's been talking about not getting hundreds for somebody like a Virat Kohli, but a Joe Root has not managed to get single hundred in Australia so far. This is his third tour to Australia, and it's been a shocker for somebody like him also. So somehow the English batters have just not enjoyed batting in Australia. And there was a time when the 2010 series, which they won here, Alistair Cook was getting runs, Kevin Peterson was getting runs, Trott was getting runs, Ian Bell was getting runs. So it's been a really, really tough decade for all the English batters in Australia, which is a big surprise. The conditions are so beautiful to bat in. I thought they would have all been looking forward to batting without all the sieve movement that happens in England. But it's been a tough
Add,
ride.
add, add to it, Akhil, they're not facing the Glenn McGraths, they're not facing the
All the
Jason
ones, yeah.
Gillespie's or the Shane Warnes. I mean, no disrespect to this bowling attack, but this is nowhere compared to, in contrast to what that bowling attack achieved. That was relentless. But let me put it in simple terms. This England lineup is not good enough. It's as simple as that. There's one Joe
Yeah,
Root, but even he struggled. You're right. He's looked the part when he scored those runs, but he's just not carried on to make it 100, a three-figure mark.
Yeah, and the problem is that Arun, for fans like us, everybody talks about Ashes being like such a big build-up, etc., etc. But frankly, since 2006, when England have toured Australia, they've only managed to make a fight out of it in that 2010 series, which they won. Frankly, that was because Australia was struggling. But apart from that, they've not won a Test match. They lost final in 2006. They lost final again in 2014 when they with that Mitchell Johnson series. Last time they managed to draw one Test match, which was like a batathon because of that Alistair Cook double hundred. And this time again, they have not even come close to winning a Test match. So for English cricket, this is going to be a big challenge. Like, how do you even keep competing? Why will even broadcasters be interested to keep putting out content and promote Ashes as a big series? It's going to be a really tough challenge for administrators of Test cricket to also think about.
It is. It's going to be a huge challenge. Working on an Ashes series was one on my bucket list, but I might have to now review my bucket list. Having seen what's happened. Like you mentioned, Akhil, go back in time. The only two Ashes series you actually remember, fondly remember, is one is the 2005 series in England, and the most recent series in England. Both were nail biters. Both had biters in them. So you remember those two. But apart from that, it's generally been one-way traffic. So I just have to contemplate and review my bucket list of cricket events. And Test
Hmm.
cricket administrators have a problem. We've had certain good contests, but looking at a series as a whole, it's been pretty lopsided.
Okay, we are going to have a long chat on that on one of our sessions and invite a lot of opinions also. But before I go and we do our predictions for this test match, I'm just going to repeat the question. We are having a contest again where fans can, uh, where listeners can come in and answer questions in our YouTube section. Just like the video and answer the question in the YouTube section, and you have a chance to win Brightly signed merchandise. And I'm just going to repeat the question again, Arun. There is an Australian cricketer. He's the only person to have bagged a pair at the Hobart Cricket Stadium in a Test match. So we want you to name us that Australian cricketer. Arun's already given a hint. You want to give one more hint or too easy a question?
It's fairly easy, but anyway, I'll give you another hint. That particular batter was born in that part of the world, in Tasmania.
Okay, that's quite a big and a simple hint. We want as many people as we want to answer. It's a fun question related to the match which is going to start. Okay, so that's where we are. That's the contest, Arun. What are your predictions? Who's going to end up as the highest run scorer now? That Manas is obviously top of the charts now, but do you think Steve Smith has it in him to get a double hundred and like outscore Manas?
Doesn't need a double hundred, Akhil. This is not going to be one of those high scoring games, I think. I'm still backing Steve Smith to maybe finish one or two, the run scorers list.
Okay. And again, Australia winning this in 3-4 days, you think? Pink
Three and
ball
a half
test match
days.
for three
Three
and
and
a
a
half
half days.
days. Okay, so Arun's going with the 3.5 days. I'm going with a 4 day win for Australia. Uh, Maybe the last time that we see an Anderson and a Broad bowling in Australia. Hopefully Anderson will play and not doesn't sit out. So it's going to be a momentous occasion for both of them. Been such long careers. All right, lots of cricket still coming up in January, and we'll be back again here. Do join in, play the contest, participate in the contest. Leave in your comments, thoughts about what you want us to talk about and we'd love to have a go at that. Thank you so much for joining in.